All right, guys. Welcome to the live stream. Apparently, another live stream that I was just watching is watching me. So, hello, AFM, Dirt Gas, Gen Z, NTAP, Populous Focus, and Sam 9334. I always see you, but I always kind of forget what your YouTube is. But anyway. Hello to everyone, including the false amount of people that are watching it on another stream. You better stop before I copyright you. That was a joke. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about China. We're going to be talking about Taiwan because there's actually some news that just came out today, actually. And this is a House vote that banned maps showing Taiwan as a part of China. And so the bill was passed on Wednesday that included a motion to ban the use of public funds to buy, make, or display any map of China that shows Taiwan as a part of its territory. This is House Resolution 4373 for State Department and related Foreign Service funding. Was adopted on Capitol Hill by a vote of 217 to 212. Unfortunately, Republicans did not get on board with that, it looks like. While non-binding, the bill serves to express the sentiment of Congress. Adopted with the legislation that was Amendment 35, introduced by Republican lawmakers Tom Tiffany of Wisconsin 7, Steve Cabot, Ohio 1, and Scott Perry, Pennsylvania 10, Kat Kamek, Florida 3, and Mike Gallagher, Wisconsin 8. The motion prohibits the expenditure of funds to create, procure, or display any map that depicts Taiwan as a part of the People's Republic of China, according to the text. Speaking on the floor of the House, let me go ahead and look at chat, actually. Yeah, apparently we got Dirt Gas. Everyone in chat right now. Swear to God, you know what? I'm gonna ban AFM from this. I'm gonna go ahead and put a stop to AFM's cringy little Mark Kirk account. Go ahead and yep, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's what you get. Oh man. Anyway, let's go ahead and go on. Speaking on House floor Wednesday, the amendment's main sponsor Tiffany. This is a common sense measure. As we all know, Taiwan has never been a part of communist China. The Taiwanese people elect their own leaders, raise their own armed forces, conduct their own foreign policy, and maintain their own international trade agreements. By every measure, Taiwan is a sovereign, democratic country and independent country. Any claims to the contrary are simply false, said the Wisconsin representative. He added, since the 1970s, America's so-called One China policy has acknowledged Beijing's bogus argument that Taiwan is a part of China. This is a dishonest policy and one that America should abandon. While we cannot end this policy with my amendment today, we can at least require honest maps that stop perpetrating that One China lie. Communist China is Communist China, and he said Taiwan is Taiwan. Free my alts. Yeah, okay, says the altar. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna put everyone, every single Mark Kirk. I'm just gonna put all of them in the timeout. Yeah, let's go ahead and get my mods prepared for this because we got another stream that's watching my stream right now. But anyway, since the 1970s, yeah, I already read that. Reached by Newsweek on Thursday, Taipei time. Taiwan's foreign ministry spokesman, Joanne Oh, thanked the lawmakers for their continued support, show of support through concrete actions. Taiwan will follow the bill's progress, maintain its close ties with the U.S. executive and legislative branches, and continue to deepen positive U.S.-Taiwan relations. The 2022 State Foreign Operations and Related Programs Bill funds the U.S. diplomatic service, including the State Department and U.S. mission to the United Nations. And then, according to the House Committee on Appropriations, the legislation provides $62.24 billion in foreign service funding, an increase of $6 billion. That's a lot, or 12% from the current budget. Included are provisions for foreign aid, public health infrastructure, and U.S. efforts to tackle climate change. The bill helps support allies and partners of the United States, particularly to counter growing Chinese influence. And that is the end of the article there. And if I can actually go back, because there's a lot that's been going on with Taiwan, and I haven't been able to, I haven't had the chance to make any streams as of late. So I wanted to at least have one stream that would concentrate on China, on Taiwan, and we can actually have discussions about this. Maybe I actually will open up my, let me actually look. So it's going to be my debate stage, or yeah, PG stream actually. So no, not PG stream. So yeah, it's going to be the debate stage. So we're going to start at the stage on my Discord. Okay, so hide user John Mills, you just got banned. Can John Mills join the stream? He's running for Oregon Senate. Yeah, sure. Yeah, goodbye, John Mills. Goodbye, John Mills. You are not a member of this anymore. Been meaning to do that. Corbin is in stream. Welcome to the stream, Corbin. Aggressive PG. Yeah, I'm a little aggressive on this stream, ain't I? Cad Bane, welcome to the live stream. Let John Mills on. It's literally AFM. I'm literally letting AFM onto the stream. Like, who else am I letting on? You're telling me to let AFM on the stream. The Samoan Libertarian. Never seen you here. Welcome. I like how AFM ended his stream, and then John Mills showed up. Come on, it's literally like Superman with John Mills and AFM. It's like you never see him in the same place at the same time. All right. So I think I'm gonna try to. Let me go ahead and switch the server just so you guys know exactly what I'm looking at. Populist Focus, go ahead and join the Discord. Are you a DC or Marvel fan? I am. I'm more of DC, especially whenever Zack Snyder's involved. I don't have Discord anymore. Well, I'm streaming. I'm not using Stream Deck right now, so I'm not using that. Got a lot of rowdy people in the chat, don't we? Yeah, I'm just gonna start sending. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, and if you guys are interested in talking on the stream, do join the Discord. That is actually how I'm going to be having discussions. Do you think Biden's infrastructure plan will pass? It looks like that Donald Trump wants to ban not ban. Yeah, he's totally gonna ban people. He wants to primary anyone that votes in favor of it. So that's kind of odd. I guess. I also haven't been paying that much attention to the infrastructure. So that's one thing. PG, do you support democracy? Most of the time. Most of the time, I'll say I'm a 90% supporter of democracy. There's gonna be a lot of people in my ban list whenever the stream is over. You know, next time do it on StreamYard. Yeah, I mean, next time I'll do it on StreamYard. I was mostly thinking that I was going to do this by myself. There's a lot of ads on this website. Anyway, let's go ahead and read this next article. China warns the United States will cut itself on increasing support for Taiwan, which is going to be the best option that we have, honestly. Go away, PNC. What the hell is a PNC? Is that a Chinese bank? I don't want it. I don't want it. The United States will cut itself if it continues its gradual support for Taiwan, China's defense ministry said on Thursday, warning of severe consequences. Democratic Taiwan has received the most assurances about its continued security in recent memory, amid a marked rise in military coercion by Beijing over the past year. The Biden administration in particular has backed Taiwan through vocal support and military signaling. And then, so despite categorical commitments for the White House that the United States does not support Taiwan independence, a point reiterated by Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman on her recent trip to Tianjin, China continues to voice its displeasure at Washington's rock-solid unofficial relationship with the self-ruled island. At monthly press briefing in Beijing, China's defense ministry spokesman Wu Qin, or Qin, still learning some Chinese, so still kind of getting the names correct, accused the United States of salami slicing tactics. That is ironic. That is ironic, especially with their so-called 9-dash line. They accuse the United States of salami slicing whenever they themselves are salami slicing, referring to the impression that Trump and Biden administrations have become less and less ambiguous about their support for Taiwan's security. Ask about the additional backing Taiwan receives in Congress, as well as the United States Air Force's cargo plane recent stopover in Taipei. Wu said that the United States will only cut itself on hand if it continues to its gradual supportive gestures and measures toward Taiwan. We earnestly warn the United States, those who play with fire will be burned. He repeated what is now an oft-heard threat. As China claims Taiwan as part of its sacred territory, it considers support from foreign states as direct interference in its internal affairs. Do not send the wrong signal to Taiwan quote, Taiwan independence forces, Wu said, or else the United States will bear all severe consequences that it triggers. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has committed to maintaining the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. After her landslide re-election last January, she said there is no need to formally declare independence, as Taiwan was already a sovereign state by the formal title Republic of China. And then her party's lawmakers have described her as putting more emphasis on national defense than any other elected leader in the country's democratic history. A little bit of a history lesson here. There was actually a dictator in Taiwan. If you guys actually are familiar with a little bit of history, especially if you played like Hearts of Iron 4, most of the time, especially whenever you have historical focuses on, there is a civil war in Spain. So there is a fascist dictator that takes over under the name of Francisco Franco. The same thing kind of happened in China after the Civil War came to an end. The communists took over all of mainland China, and then the nationalists, under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek, left left the mainland and had settled into the island of Formosa. At the time, it was called Formosa, but then they called it Taiwan. Are you gonna let anyone on the stream? Not any of AFM's alts, if you're asking that, but I actually have not. Let me look. I actually haven't. Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of people in the chat. So yeah, after I read this article, I'll go ahead and pull a couple of people on. But I'm not gonna pull in a Mark Kirk fan. Let me actually disconnect him. I'm gonna read this article, and we will go ahead and pull a couple of people into the debate stage. All right, so our party's lawmakers are described as putting more emphasis on national defense than any other elected leader in the country's democratic history. So again, going on, Chiang Kai-shek took over Taiwan, and then he actually ruled Taiwan until the 1970s, whenever he died. So it was actually Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong died around the same time. So it was kind of ironic, I guess. So Chiang Kai-shek took, whenever Chiang Kai-shek died, that allowed Taiwan to kind of democratize, except that democratization, I don't think happened until about the late 80s, early 90s. And they democratized, and then since then, yeah, actually, their first democratic election took place in 92. So they have had, because they actually have elections, you know, every 4 years, and then they usually have their elections like the January of the United States' elections, the same year as every presidential election in the United States. And then neighboring countries are seeing an alarming military buildup across the Taiwan Strait, particularly in China, where annual military spending continues to dwarf Taiwan's year-on-year military spending. China says Taiwan's quote-unquote unification with the mainland is an unstoppable historical process. Ultimately, however, Taipei and Washington expect the choice to be left in the hands of Taiwan's 23.5 million people, who appear less interested in Beijing's promise of semi-autonomy every year. A July 20 survey released by the National Chengchi University Election Study Center, Taiwan's foremost polling institute in Taipei, found only 2.7% of people identified as solely Chinese, quote, 31.4% chose the option of both Taiwanese and Chinese, and 63.3% regarded themselves as only Taiwanese. Among the respondents, just 1.5% said that they want unification as soon as possible. However, less than 6% of people say they wanted independence as soon as possible. A majority of 81.5% polled preferred some form of status quo, a phenomenon some analysts say it may be linked to the constant threat of military conflict across the Taiwanese Strait. And then polling is conducted through the ear by telephone, with half-year data from January to June released each July. This month's report included respondents from 4,717 people at the university set, and that is the end of the article. Let me go ahead and switch this over on OBS. We'll go ahead and pull a couple of people into the stream. That's pretty sure you guys can't hear the music that much. So we got AMM, we got Can, we got Maricupa. Let me go ahead and pull Maricupa into the stream. And I swear to God, if this is not AFM, well, actually, AFM, you've been a little rowdy in the stream, so I don't think you deserve to come on. Is it me, or did the stream stop working? I mean, can you still hear me? Hey, I'll be back in 10-15 minutes. All right. Apparently, Dirtgas does not want to come in and speak. Okay, so everyone still can't hear me. All right. So I guess I'll go ahead and wait, since no one wants to come in and discuss. At least yet. If you want to come in and discuss, go ahead and let me know in the chat. How do you join the stage on Discord? I invited you to speak. Let me look. Going StreamYard, it just seems easier. Yeah, well, I mean, everyone else needs to stop getting so used to StreamYard. Gotta go to old-fashioned rate. Nightbot is not working. Oh, I guess I need to go into Nightbot. I haven't messed with Nightbot in a little bit. Apparently, there's a new article from Forbes. The ultra mega Taiwan invasion could defy comprehension. God, there's so many ads. Play game politics are cringe. Yeah, politics gaming is cringe, guys. Politics gaming. The reason it's called politics. It's like gaming. Yes, there's gonna be gaming. Then there's also gonna be politics. It's gonna be discussions. It started out as just gaming. The only worthy politics are Yemeni politics. I agree. I agree. It's the most base comment that I've ever seen. Change the gaming only. Yeah. This is totally gonna be just like what about Uzbek politics? Absolutely. Let's go. Let's see what's going on in Uzbekistan, guys. Uzbekistan. We have not heard about you in a while. I think. No, that was I thought they just had a war with Kyrgyzstan, but I think that was between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Uzbekistan's revolutionary transformation for good. Daily Sabah. Actually, oh. You guys want to know the best thing to read whenever you're bored? Best thing to read, I swear to God, is the Global Times. Global Times is one of the greatest things to ever read, because this is just straight propaganda. Like, you know, the United States, you know, it's all private companies that kind of like influence our media, you know. But China directly does this, and it's so entertaining to read. It's so entertaining because it's not even like, you know, someone doing it. It's like most of their articles are by the Global Times. It's not by a specific person. It's by the Global Times, which the Global Times is a mouthpiece. It's a direct mouthpiece of the People's Republic of China. So let me look. I want to find one. U.S. Senate legislation in support of Taiwan's participation in WHA merely a political gesture. And then we also have Utah to contain China. U.S. terrorizes on COVID-19s. Oh, man. Oh, look at that. They're using the panda. It's the eagle versus the panda. Who's going to win? Not a member of any party. Yes, he is. He's lying about that. He is part of the party. All right, so let's go ahead and read some of this while we wait. Taiwan is a country? Yes. Let's go ahead and pin that comment. Go ahead and pin you there. Days after U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman visited China and met with top Chinese diplomats in Tianjin, during which she claimed that the United States adheres to the One China principle, the United States Senate sang a different tune by passing a legislation to strengthen support for Taiwan Island's participation in the World Health Organization, the WHO's World Health Assembly on Wednesday, drawing a firm opposition from China with mainland expert. God, I love that. I love their terms. Their terminology is so funny. Mainland experts saying that the move is more of a political gesture as part of the U.S. play of Taiwan card. The U.S. Senate Foreign Affairs Committee passed legislation to direct the U.S. State Department to develop a strategy to assist the island of Taiwan in obtaining observer status at the WHO, the decision-making body of the WHO, ahead of its annual Global Assembly from November 29 to December 1st. To prevent China-U.S. relations from further deteriorating or even getting out of control, the U.S. State Counselor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi elaborated China's three bottom lines. The U.S. should not challenge, smear, or seek to subvert the Chinese path and system of socialism with Chinese characteristics. I can't read this without laughing. It's so funny. Should not seek to interrupt or disrupt China's development, should not violate China's national sovereignty or territorial integrity. During his meeting with Sherman on Monday, Chang, I'm gonna say Chang, across Straits expert and deputy director of the Center for American Studies at Fudan University in Shanghai, told the Global Times on Thursday that it remains questionable that the legislation would eventually become a law bill, which depends on the House of Representatives' approval or not, and the Senate's passage of the legislation is merely a political gesture as part of U.S. play of Taiwan card. They say it again. Jin pointed out that the Senate and Biden administrations have divergence on the Taiwan question, as the administration tries to keep cautious of the question considering the China-U.S. relations, while the Senate is trying to press the administration to push forward the Taiwan's participation in international organizations. Zhao Lijian, spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, said at a press conference on Thursday that Taiwan question is most important and sensitive issue in Taiwan-U.S.-China relations. And the One China principle is a political foundation of the bilateral ties, as well as the general consensus of the international community. God, I hate that. Legislation seriously violates the One China principle, three China-U.S. joint communiques, and basic principle affirmed in the United Nations and WHO resolutions, which China is firmly opposed to. He noted that China's central government attaches great importance. God, I cannot talk. And well-being of Taiwan compatriots has better proper arrangements for the Taiwan's participation in global health affairs under the One China principle. Zhao urged the relevant U.S. parties to push forward the legislation, stop sending wrong signals to Taiwan secessionists, and stop assisting Taiwan Authority to expand the so-called international space. Let me go ahead and see who this is by again. So it's by Zhu Qiyu. Global Times reporter following Australia and Japan issues, also their focus on social issues and overseas studies. Let's go ahead and open up her page. And then Zin Zin said that the U.S. support for Taiwan back to the WHA. God, the English in this is horrible. It's thrown me off so much. Was never a health issue, but a political calculation aimed at containing and suppressing the Chinese mainland and the international community by playing the. They say it again 3 times. 3 times they say the Taiwan card. The island of Taiwan had attended the WHA as an observer under the name Chinese Taipei since 2009 until 2016. A special arrangement made through the cross-strait relations. Where was that? Cross-strait consultations on the basis of the 1992 consensus that embodies the One China principle upheld by both sides of the Taiwanese Strait. However, after Tsai Ing-wen of the secessionist Democratic Progressive Party was elected as a regional... Holy crap! That is the greatest sentence I have read on an article ever. After the Tsai Ing-wen of the secessionist Democratic Progressive Party was elected as the regional leader, the DPP abandoned the 1992 consensus and jeopardized the One China principle, unilaterally undermining the political foundation for cross-strait consultations. This is them literally just building up for a war. This is just them just making more and more clear about their intentions, about what they're gonna do, and it's total BS. It's total BS. But again, I would totally recommend use a VPN. If you guys want to like help me get a VPN, I need a VPN. But I would totally suggest using a VPN whenever you use this. By the way, NordVPN, if you guys want to sponsor me, I'd love a sponsor. What the hell are you reading? I'm reading the Global Times, one of the greatest things you're ever going to read. We should bring back the Republic of China, to be honest. The Republic of China has been a thing ever since 1949. They have been independent since 1949. I actually do agree with Tsai Ing-wen that basically, you know, the status quo is that Taiwan has always been independent. They don't even need a declaration of independence because they've always been independent. Play Yemen in Power and Revolution? Possibly. ROC, you mean the Russian Olympic Committee? You should put a link to the Global Times. Global Times is a joke. The Global Times is one of the greatest jokes of all time, and again, I would totally, if you're bored one day, if you just really want something to read, go ahead and read the Global Times, because it is going to, if your day is low, if you feel depressed, you feel just sad, then read the Global Times. It'll brighten your day with how stupid the People's Republic of China is. Sales in new LGBT waters with Jungle Cruise film. One of its main characters comes out as gay. Yeah, I guess China isn't the best country for LGBT issues. China, source, opinion, world. Let's go ahead and do world. See how because there is so much propaganda against the United States here. Japan should be reminded that there is no good in fighting China. Japanese professor, how much you want to bet? Oh yeah, I want to go ahead and read this this woman's article. She's a reporter from Beijing. Not a surprise there. Let's see what she has. Headlines. China, Biden hypes China's separate threat to international agency to justify own online attacks. Nanjing's outbreak with Delta variant may end in mid-August. Oh yeah, it's as if there's never been an outbreak in China. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. There is no human rights violations in Xinjiang. There is nothing going on in Xinjiang, guys. Japan will lose badly if it depends Taiwan secessionists. Oh man, I love that headline already. All right, let's go ahead and see who this is by. Same lady. Oh yeah, because I'm going through her articles right now. Anyway, let's go ahead and close that communists page because I don't want to see any more cancer. Otherwise, I might develop it. Japan is continuing to provoke China on the Taiwan question. Oh man, where's Mao Zedong whenever you need him? Where's Mao Zedong? And by the way, Mao Zedong is a guy that I've had several discussions with. I need to have him in the stream right now. So Japan is continuing to provoke China on the Taiwan question as its annual defense white paper released on Tuesday mentioned Taiwan's stability for the first time. Chinese observers warned that if Tokyo defends Taiwan secessionists or tries to interrupt China's national reunification, it would lose badly and the consequences would be unbearable. And by the way, for those who don't know, China has literally directly, it didn't come from the Chinese government per se, but it came from a Chinese news outlet that basically said that China would nuke Japan again and again and again and again until they unconditionally surrender for the second time. So they are directly threatening Japan with nuclear weapons if they defend Taiwan. And they said they will nuke them again and again. They're not even saying they're going to use one. They're threatening nuclear war with Japan if they defend Taiwan. So just food for thought. Food for thought here. Japan's latest defense paper, whose cover features a warrior on horseback, was criticized by some Japanese netizens. You know, netizens is the only thing that ever matters in China. It matters what the netizens say because there is freedom of speech in China because we have netizens. We have netizens, guys. They worried that the contents are very warlike and set back the wheel of history. Oh yeah, okay. So apparently China is totally not going to go to war because they're just unifying. They're just putting down secessionists in Taiwan. There's no war in Ba Sing Se, guys. They worried that the contents are very warlike and set back the wheel of history because the white paper intends to authorize the Japanese government with more rights and excuses to use force which are against the Article 9 of Japan's constitution. Obviously, again, they're using, oh yeah, Japan can't go to war. There is no war. There's no war because Japan can't go to war because of Article 9 of the Japanese constitution. The white paper said that the stability of the Taiwanese Strait is more important than ever and is threatened by increasing military pressure from the Chinese mainland, the Kyoto News reported. Stabilizing the situation surrounding Taiwan is important for Japan's security and stability of the international community. Song Zhongping, the Chinese military expert and commentator, told the Global Times on Tuesday that Japan is trying to use the Taiwanese question to normalize its military deregulation and break its pacifist constitution. Song said that Japan is taking the first step on its arms sale to the island of Taiwan by providing the authority of the island in support of manufacturing submarines. In the future, it is possible for Japan to provide more arms to the island, which will break China's bottom line. So it looks like that if outer countries like the United States, Japan, continue to provide arms sales to Taiwan, that is going to break, quote unquote, their bottom line in China, which will force them to, quote unquote, reunify China. Since the United States-Japan 2+2 talks held on March 16th, Tokyo made a series of provocations against Beijing over the Taiwan question. Just trying to make sure, by the way, this is working. Let's go ahead and see. Make sure. Is it working? Yeah. His provocations are getting increasingly clear. Da Zhigang, director and research fellow of Institute of Northeast Asian Studies at Heilongjiang Provincial Academy of Social Sciences and chief expert at Northwest Asian Strategic Studies Institute, told the Global Times on Tuesday. However, when Japan decides to interfere in Taiwan question militarily or serves as the military base for the United States to interrupt China's national reunification process, it will inevitably be treated as a threat to China and will be a target of China's military strikes. Japan relies heavily on the Chinese market, and China won't allow to earn will allow Japan to earn huge amounts of money from its market and threaten its national security and sovereignty at the same time. Song warned that if Japan still tries to follow the United States in containing China and even dares defend Taiwan's secessionist forces, it will lose badly. Zhao Lijian, a spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, on Tuesday condemned the Japanese government for repeatedly provoking China, grossly interfering in China's internal affairs, and unjustifiably criticizing China's normal national defense buildup. I like how they have to emphasize that it's normal national defense buildup and military activities, making irresponsible remarks on China's legitimate maritime. Again, they have to emphasize. If you have to emphasize that it is normal and legitimate, then there is something wrong with your national defense right now. Because I mean, you know, you're only just now doing this, and what is the difference between the United States doing it and the China doing it? It's just that the United States doesn't directly say, "Oh yeah, you know, we're unifying someone because, you know, because of historical things, and you know, we're going to draw a line." It's like the United States drawing a line around the Pacific and saying, "This is our 12-point line, so you have to follow exactly what we say." Zhao Lijian, the spokesperson, condemned the Japanese government for repeatedly provoking China, grossly interfering in China's internal affairs, unjustifiably criticizing China's normal national defense buildup. This is extremely wrong and irresponsible, said Zhao. Zhao stressed that Taiwan is China's inalienable territory, and the Taiwan question is purely China's internal affairs. China will never allow any country to interfere in the Taiwan question in any way, saying China must and will unify, which is the best interest of regional peace and stability. A Beijing-based military analyst who requested anonymity, apparently, sure, that's a thing in China, told the Global Times on Tuesday that Chinese mainland's military has increased in recent years. Japan's military capability has fallen far behind that of the Chinese mainland. So again, it's propaganda that they're trying to say that that they're trying to scare Japan into saying like, "Oh yeah, you're totally gonna lose if you try to face us. You know, you're not gonna win." It's propaganda to its finest. And I say finest very sarcastically. It's horrible propaganda because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You can tell that it's a lie. Even the United States could not defeat China militarily in the West Pacific region now, so what makes Japan believe it is able to challenge China with force, he asked. He warned that Japan should understand that the United States could run away if it loses, but Japan is too close to China and there is nowhere it could run. Japan's new defense paper also gives harsher criticism of China's unilateral attempts to change the status quo by coercion near the Diaoyu Islands, which, by the way, belong to Japan and are also being claimed by China. And China has actually also started to say that the Ryukyu Islands belong to China now. So they're basically like just pointing at a region on a map and saying that it belongs to them, just because, you know, their reasoning for this. Let me go ahead and finish this and I'll go through the history. The paper accused Chinese activities of Chinese vessels last year near the islands of a violation of international law. In response, Zhao said the Diaoyu Islands and the affiliated islets are again, they say it again, are an inalienable part of Chinese territory, and China's patrols in the waters off the Diaoyu Islands are legitimate and lawful exercises of its inherent rights. So let's go ahead and pull up a picture of the Diaoyu Islands. So this is the Senkaku Islands. Senkaku Islands are off of so this is the map. So this is Okinawa. This is the Ryukyu Islands right here. And these are the islands that they're talking about. That these technically belong to Japan, and the Chinese are only just now, just within the last 10 years, saying, this is mine and I will defend it to my last man. It's a focus of a territorial dispute, so Senkaku Islands dispute, or the Daoyu Islands dispute. Anyway, let me go ahead and read some chat, because I actually haven't read chat in a little bit. There is a website that reviews the biases of media outlets, and they say that the Global Times with the far left bias and mixed factual reporting. What the? Mixed? Mixed what? Oh, I hate that. I hate fact checkers. Fact checkers are like one of the worst things to come up within the last year, because it's like, oh, fact check, and the only reason they say it's mixed is because they're going off of technicality. And the technicality is that sometimes, yes, they are doing it correctly, but it's the context and it's the way that they're using it which makes it false. But they're going off the technicality, saying, like for example, I can pull up an article in the Global Times that basically says, like, oh, the United States has racial relations, blah 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 blah. Like they have really they treat people badly, blah 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 blah. But then it's the way that they're using it, because oh yeah, that's correct. But then they're going off, they're not, going off the context and by who it is from. Doesn't matter. And they'll rate something, from Newsmax wrong, even though it ends up being correct later on. But then if it's coming from the Global Times, oh, it's mixed. Yeah, that's complete BS. By the way, that is total BS. The Republic of China ended in 49. Okay, Corbin, you're gonna lose your mod capabilities. We rate the Global Times questionable based on the promotion of pro-Chinese government propaganda. We also rate them mixed for factual reporting due to biases by omission, as well as failed fact checks. Whatever. Say East Turkestan instead of Xinjiang. I'll always say Xinjiang. Say East Turk. Oh. Okay, so East Turkestan. Well, yeah. I mean, you could kind of like say interchangeably. I say Xinjiang because that's a part of China. Because if you're using East Turkestan, then you're a part of the separatists, and yeah, I will, because it has been a part of China, and historically they have not been part of China, but they have been a part of China. But it's what that's going on in Xinjiang, which is the issue. It's not about, oh, let Turkestan go because, screw China. But, that's not how I view it. I view what's currently going on there with disgust. Mao would be proud of this, yes. Oof, China. Yeah, I know. I believe in the article you mean they say when China liberates Taiwan, they will nuke Japan if they interfere. They will nuke Japan if they interfere military, not if. I know. China is just awful. Recognizing Taiwan as a sovereign country, while it still claims to be the only true representative of China, is directly undermining the sovereignty of the PRC. Actually, I mean, I don't even think... Yeah, they still have historical claims to the rest of mainland China because of the Civil War, and the Civil War technically never came to an end. And that's going to be a pretext that China uses whenever they go to war. But technically Taiwan, because if they really did that, then they would be saying that they're Chinese and they want to retake the mainland China. They do still have those claims, but they're more about, going on with their lives instead of, conquering the rest of mainland China because of historical claims. Because for one, they can't even do it. But I feel like if they did have a stronger military, probably one that could match China, yeah, they would probably still be going after those claims. But at least for the right now, they don't have the ability to do that. China sails its navy around the South China Sea, attempting to claim it as their waters, but the American Navy sails in zigzag to symbolically say it's international waters, and then China backs off. Awesome. America needs to bring back either a madman strategy or a detente strategy. The madman strategy says America should be unpredictable and irrational to get other countries in peace negotiations. Oh yeah, my boy Nixon, my man Nixon, with the madman Nixon. I support that. I support doing a madman theory with China, except madman with China is basically sending like over 1 billion people into Taiwan to say, aha, it's Chinese now. Yeah, it's never going to be Chinese. And the fun thing about it is I would actually go recommend that you guys watch Tricky Dick. Yep. It's time for Tricky or Dicky to get tricky. You guys know that reference. I love Futurama. But yeah, like if there's you know, I was totally gonna say something, but then Corbin distracted me with Tricky Dicky. Oh man. Oh, okay. So I would totally recommend you guys go watch China Uncensored. I've been watching China Uncensored I think since 2013, 2014. And it's been very interesting. I just recently started watching him now, you know, this year, and he's still good. He's still great in having exclusive news from China, and he has a couple of videos. He has a couple of videos in which, you know, he talks about like what China has been saying to Taiwan, what they've been saying to Japan, you know, with the nukes and everything, and it's a very, he's a very interesting channel, so I would totally recommend that you guys go watch China Uncensored. He's a very, very interesting guy, and he does very good work in covering the lies of the CCP and how hypocritical essentially they are. The US government will never let China get that close to Guam. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, people say like, oh, well, you know, Taiwan, and then the Senkaku Islands, and then after the Senkaku and Taiwan, then it's going to be the Ryukyu Islands. Then it's going to be Japan. Then it's going to be Korea. Then it's going to be the Philippines. Then it's going to be Vietnam. Then it's going to be Cambodia, Laos. This, if you want to talk about domino theory, if you let Taiwan fall and we don't commit ourselves into that, and that's the scary thing about going to war with China right now, is because I seriously don't think the far left and far right are even going to agree that China is as big of a threat as everyone else is, because the far left is basically going to say, oh, this is like some anti-Asian thing, it's some imperialist thing, and then they're gonna say like, if we go to war with China, it's going to increase anti-Asian hate. And then the far right is basically, from what I know, basically doesn't see China as a threat, but they see Silicon Valley and Washington DC as more of a threat to the United States than China actually is. So that's the biggest thing. And I'm not a war hawk. I am surely not a war hawk. I know personally what it's like to lose someone because of a war. I lost a brother in Iraq. But whenever it comes to China, this is the new Cold War. We're not acknowledging this enough. We are in the new Cold War. This is Cold War II. And if you've ever played Fallout, if you know anything about Fallout, the biggest thing is that it was against China. And this is going to be the pervading fight, ideological fight for the next several decades, maybe, depending on when China goes to war with Taiwan. Because the moment that Chinese boots hit the ground in Taiwan, or the moment a Chinese missile hits somewhere in Taipei, that's going to be it. And the other thing about it too is that China is very unstable, because if you know anything about Chinese history, it's just been dynasty after dynasty after dynasty after dynasty. And even before the Century of Humiliation, which, if you're not familiar with Chinese history, go look up the Century of Humiliation. It was essentially the century in which the Opium Wars took place, in which China was taken advantage of by other countries, including the United States, Britain, France, Germany, etc. And they established like these zones, and whenever the Civil War started up, those essentially kind of came to an end. After the Civil War came to an end, I mean. So if you seriously want to talk about a domino theory, we're not talking about, if communism ends up in one place, it's going to like spread to the rest of the countries surrounding that country. This is going to be a domino theory, except it's going to be China. It's going to be Taiwan. Then it's going to be Ryukyu. Then it's going to be Korea. Then it's going to be Southeast Asia. And then soon enough, if we just sit on the sidelines, we're going to not only be dealing with China, we're going to be dealing with something worse than the Warsaw Pact. Something that will, and they're going to use saying, the Americans have never cared about you. The West has never cared about you. The West has done this, and this to screw you over. And then we're going to be dealing by the middle of the 2030s, we're going to be dealing with a coalition of countries that are extremely hostile to the Americans, that are going to be considered an extremely huge threat to us. And what have we done in the meantime? Did we defend Taiwan? Did we defend Japan? Did we defend Southeast Asia? Did we do anything to try to alleviate the influence of China? No, we didn't. And we're screwed. And we're done. So it's something that we need to look at now, and we need to, and if we do go to war within the next couple of years, it's going to be extremely scary, because I feel like that could be something like the Vietnam War, where all of us are like, why are we going to war? And no one has been paying attention up until the point that we do go to war. And I am extremely worried that a Sino-American war will end up the same way that Vietnam did. That we will let Taiwan fall. That we will step back because our home front turned against it. Because they were either ignorant, or because they were just didn't know why, and they just didn't want to go to war in the first place. And I don't think, the thing about it is that this generation has not seen a war since 2003. Generation Z is, the generation that's coming up now. They're the ones that are active. And then as soon as we go to war, they're going to go, why are we going to war? What the hell's going on? So, do you think the United States should have continued its participation in the Vietnam War rather than withdraw? So let me go ahead and clarify that too. I think that the Vietnam War was half of a mistake, but I do agree in the theory of the domino theory that if it falls to one, it's going to fall to another. And the Vietnam War was handled extremely poorly, because it was basically Lyndon B. Johnson kind of coming out and saying like, oh, we were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, and then like I'm gonna get like these like ultimate war powers that no other president has ever gotten before. So we're gonna go to war, except we're not gonna declare a war. And doing that whenever the public was already kind of like sketchy about it, and then you just kind of like start drafting people to do that, then that's where the issue was. It was because people were being drafted for a war that they didn't even support. Well, now the United States military is to a point to where it would be extremely difficult for us to be drafted unless, we're being directly invaded or like a US territory was being directly attacked. So that was the issue with the Vietnam War, not because we were going to war. If it was a lot of people volunteering to go to war, or if it was because, Pearl Harbor happened, people were not really excited, but they were like pissed off. They wanted to go to war. They wanted to fight. But whenever you start drafting people for a war, and then you're sending the sons of families that don't exactly support the war, don't know anything about the war in the first place, then you're going to draw public attention against it. Why should we have invaded to preserve the unpopular and undemocratic regime of No Din Diem? See, that's the other thing about it too. And this happened in Korea. For whatever reason, the Asian countries that we ended up splitting, like because of communist versus capitalist, they both ended up having these really weird times where they were just both dictators. And Southeast Asia wasn't different. Like South Korea had a dictator until the 60s. They had several military coups throughout their history before they finally democratized. Southeast Asia wasn't different, because it was No Din Diem who took over and had we did have a stalemate in Vietnam because of the Man-Made theory, but because of Watergate, North Vietnam saw America as unstable and invaded South Vietnam in 1975. 74, by the way. 74, not 75. Saigon fell in 74. But it's like, oh, why should we defend a dictator? Again, it's because of the domino theory. It's because if you're just kind of like sitting on the sidelines and not trying to support it, I really feel like what should have happened. I feel like a better theory, I guess, we should have just Marshall planned all of Asia. We should have just said like, hey, here's like $15 billion for South Korea, South Vietnam, Japan, Taiwan, and just kind of built them up. Because Western Europe was very, very successful in that. Then the question was, what would happen if those countries started to use that money to just kind of like prop up their own dictatorships? Which is also the thing, because if you're sending money to dictatorships, then they're going to stay dictatorships, and they probably wouldn't have democratized as quickly as they did in our own timeline. Ho Chi Minh was willing to hold elections required by the 1954 Geneva Conventions. It was South Vietnam and No Din Diem who can refuse to allow a vote to take place. PG is live, gotta watch. Hell yeah. We're just talking about Taiwan and China as of right now, and we're also reading the Global Times, one of the greatest things ever. But I'm not necessarily saying that Vietnam was inherently a good war. I'm just saying that it was handled extremely poorly. Most extensive contagion after Wuhan. Yeah, I wonder how many people have actually gotten infected. China's actually reporting cases. Wow. We're gonna ignore the fact that P just started to stream to take views away from me, LMAO. Well, I didn't really do it. I also wanted to stream. I was just kind of messing with you, by the way. Like that, none of that was like serious. I would have streamed either way. So I was just kind of like messing with you whenever I said that. $170 views. Thank you guys so much for watching this, by the way. Even though most of that was in the beginning. PG has a good topic, however. Of course I do. Are people still in the Discord? Yes. I want to see who Cam is. Who the hell is Cam with the John Cena Mao Zedong thing? That's the greatest profile picture I've ever seen. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and invite Erdogan. Erdogan, yeah. Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In stream, guys. Wait. Show requests.
Whoa.
Hello, sir. Wait, I'm not even... Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm gonna fight you over Vietnam.
I'll go ahead and fight you too, but
Well, that's when I requested to speak, so I didn't have to type it all in chat. But you didn't check.
yeah, I whenever I start ranting, it's hard for me to shut up, and I completely forgot that I was still in the Discord waiting for people to join in.
Yeah. Well, I'm it's just about China, you know. I don't think we should be going to war with China.
Why not?
I think it's a very dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, because it's
like I reiterated, like I kind of went over. As long as the Republic of China still claims to be like the representative of the whole of China, recognizing them does like literally that undermine the People's Republic of China.
Not even.
It does. I mean, you're recognizing a state that lays claim to the entirety of China while also recognizing the People's Republic of China. This isn't just a territorial dispute. I mean, it would be different if it was more similar to the North Yemen and South Yemen divide, but this isn't the case. They're very hostile to each other.
Okay. So, I'm trying to remember Taiwan Constitution. Trying to remember whenever they made their constitution. Yeah.
Taiwan?
Yeah, so Taiwan made their constitution in 1946. And constitutionally, Taiwan still has claim over mainland China as a part of the Republic of China. But for one, if they were to make a constitutional amendment and say, okay, we no longer claim that, China still, it's a part of their principle that Taiwan will always be a part of China. It doesn't matter whether Taiwan still has, because China doesn't even lay that as a claim. They lay that their claim is that Taiwan is a secessionist region of China. Taiwan, at least since they've democratized back in the 90s, since their first democratic presidential election, they've never said, or even said like, oh yeah, you know that mainland China is a part of the Republic of China. That's just not the issue with it anymore. It's about whether Taiwan should remain independent, which they have.
And then on that specifically, Taiwan has, to my knowledge, yet, I think, was it close when they elected? When was their last election?
I
forget.
Their last presidential election was in 2020, and it was not close. It was like a 30-point difference.
Oh my god. But, okay. So, they still, even though they've elected this new party, they have not moved forward at all with like denouncing the previous commitments to the One China policy that both Taiwan and China, or the People's Republic of China, have like committed to, in recognizing that they are both like committed to the idea that there is only one China.
When was the last time that was explained?
Was that 90? I think it was the 90s.
Yeah, but was it
One China policy?
Was it before in 1997?
and even then, it hasn't really been renounced. If Taiwan doesn't really recognize that as a policy that it wants to move forward with anymore, then they should take action to remove that as an official state policy. But they haven't. It's still like a guiding policy for the Republic of China.
But that's the thing. You're basically saying like, oh, because it's still a state policy. There's like so many laws in Britain about like you're not supposed to wear like certain clothes in front of in front of Buckingham Palace, or you're not supposed to eat certain foods in a certain way in front of Buckingham Palace, but they don't enforce them. It's old laws. You know, in the case of the United Kingdom, they're hundreds of years old, but in the case of Taiwan, it's, you know, they're a couple decades old, but it's just that they don't pay attention to them. Like, for example, I think it was Mississippi. Mississippi, back in the 90s, figured out that they never ratified the 13th Amendment. And they were like, oh, this is interesting, so let's go ahead and ratify it for symbolic purposes. What you're saying is that it's more of a symbolic measure. And if they were to do that symbolic measure, that would immediately justify an invasion by mainland China. Because you're saying, you're saying like, oh, well, they need to get rid of that. But if they do, that's going to immediately cause the Chinese to invade.
I don't believe that's the case. I don't genuinely believe that there's any legitimate, like, present danger of a military escalation to the point of invasion. You know, skirmishes are not uncommon in any border dispute, but an all-out war benefits literally no one.
But this isn't just a border dispute. This is a dispute over the independence of an island of 26 million people.
Which is still which is to this day functionally autonomous, and has been since the end of the Civil War in 1949.
And the other thing too, I mean, AMN actually makes a good point on this, and I think this was what I was going to say before. What would happen? You know, we've basically been saying since 1949, Taiwan, if China invades you, Dwight Eisenhower did it. Bill Clinton did it. I think it happened in the 60s, too. There were 3 Taiwan Strait crises. And we had presidents from both parties, as recently as Bill Clinton, that have showed support for Taiwan. And then all of a sudden, whenever it comes to actually, like, pulling our dick out and slapping it against each other, like, we're just gonna back off. And what would that do?
I don't think it's the purview of the United States to intervene in a remnant of a civil war in a foreign country. It's preserving essentially what has functionally been a remnant of American imperialism from the 40s and 50s and 60s.
How has Taiwan been a remnant of American imperialism?
It's been a remnant of American imperialism because of its continued existence has been assured by the United States post-Civil War. Had it not had the backing of the government of the United States, I don't think Taiwan would be functionally autonomous in the way it is today.
So do you support democracy?
Sure.
Then why would you not support democracy in another country that is under threat of having their rights, their freedoms being taken away from them forcibly? Because they're still being promised autonomy, but there is no promise of autonomy whenever we just saw the promise of the Chinese Communist Party last year in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong is a separate issue, but Taiwan, as it exists today, or in how it was created as a separate region from, or administratively separate from China, is it is literally a remnant of, American anti-communist in which policy, which is inherently, imperialist policy. It wasn't the government of Taiwan wasn't democratically imposed upon the people of Taiwan. It was imposed militarily by a government that fled the mainland China. You can't really deny that for decades, for the majority of the country's existence or the autonomous region's existence, it's not been a democratic state, and its existence was imposed by force and terror.
Okay, so for example, if there was a either peaceful or non-peaceful unification of Taiwan. So in Taiwan, same-sex marriage is legal. It was made legal on the 21st of May, 2019. And do you feel like that would still be the case under Chinese administration?
I don't think it matters that much, honestly. I don't think deciding whether or not America should intervene in a conflict in a militant way should be defined on the social policies of a country, no matter how good or bad they are.
My point is, I'm not specifically just saying like, oh, social policy. I'm talking about that the laws that they have created over the past several years, since 1949, essentially. China's basically going to kind of walk in there and they say, you're still going to have autonomy over your internal affairs. You're still going to have autonomy over this, but we want you to give up your foreign policy. We want you to give up your, your national defense policy. We want you to give up anything to defend yourself, essentially. And in same-sex marriage is totally not legal, and it's actually very frowned upon in China, in mainland China. So if the Chinese were to walk in there and say like, oh, let's this is kind of disgusting, and they would brutally clamp down on it and say it is no longer legal. And I'm using same-sex marriage as an example. I'm not just saying I'm using it as an example because they're gonna walk in there, and they did the same thing in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong and Taiwan are similar in a way because China promises one country, two systems. And that's what I was saying is a lie, because one country, two systems became useless last year. So why should Taiwan...
I would say Hong Kong still does have an inherently distinct system of governance compared to the rest of China. Now you can, make claims with regards to the recent security laws that were passed and the anti-secessionist laws that were passed, but it still is functionally very different from how the rest of China functions. So it is, one country, two systems. It's just to the degree that you support that other system, I guess, is the difference. But with talking about Taiwan, and I suppose I don't really, it's not my position personally to dictate how a country manages integration, if that's what is decided to occur, is the integration of Taiwan into the mainland. I don't think it's the position of anyone other than those participating within it to regulate how the integration occurs. I don't really think integration's a serious possibility at the time, given I don't think it's heavily supported in Taiwan. I think the status quo is probably going to be continuing for an extended period of time. I don't see any escalation.
And that's what Taiwan wants. Taiwan wants the status quo to continue, but mainland China, the CCP, does not want the status quo to continue.
Well, I would say that the articles that you were reading earlier were about changing the status quo in a way to recognize and give more power to the idea of sovereignty in Taiwan. That's not necessarily the status quo. That's escalating it.
So you do okay. So you said that America was imperialist earlier, that this was more of an imperialist policy remnant from the Civil War, but you don't see China's aggression toward Taiwan as an imperialist type of thing. You don't see their
No, they're
claims,
not the same thing.
You see their claims on the Ryukyu Islands as imperialist. You don't see their claims on the Senkaku Islands as imperialist.
I don't necessarily think they're the same thing. There's a difference between a country that was subject to, imperialism from Japan and, oppression from the, I would say, if not outright fascist, as close as you can get without being fascist, state of the Republic of China. I don't think you can, regard states that and peoples that were victims of that sort of, those sorts of things to be the same as, America intervening in, in Vietnam. You can't. They're not the same thing. They're two very separate and distinct policies. Japan did, colonize and enact imperial policy in China. I mean, that's undisputed fact that occurred, and as a result of that, there is still disputed territories between Japan and China, both the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China. It's not disputed territories between those sorts of relationships is not uncommon. I don't think it's uniquely imperialist. No.
Okay. The thing about that is just, if you see it as one, if you see it as one, you say like, oh, this is imperialist because we've stopped, one, and the thing about it is just like, I remember you were saying something earlier about like the dictators that took over during South Vietnam, and at the time there kind of wasn't really a difference because and this is the weird thing about like just like right after the Cold War, it was like North Korea and South Korea, both of those were taken over by dictators. North Vietnam, South Vietnam in 1954, both were taken over by dictators. Mainland China and Formosa, both of them were taken over by dictators for whatever reason. And this was more, and at least in the case of China, it wasn't because of that. It was because the Chiang Kai-shek kind of, and that's the thing. I mean, you're saying that Taiwan is a remnant of American imperialism when it really wasn't, because Chiang Kai-shek was Chiang Kai-shek. He wasn't an American puppet. Chiang Kai-shek was never an American puppet.
No, post 1949, he was definitely an American puppet. He may not do exactly everything, the United States wants him to do, but functionally, he operates as a puppet for, American interests in the region, as did Ngo Dinh Diem and
You really don't think that Chiang Kai-shek was his own guy? Because he
not post 1949, he was too heavily dependent on the influence and support of the United States and other powers in the region to be as I forget what's the word, independent as other dictators were able to be. He was not functionally different than Diem or Park.
Sorry, I'm doing research. I like to do research, so whenever I get quiet, I'm just kind of like other things.
I mean, really, yeah. Taiwan served as an outlet for American imperialism in the region and supported American imperialist actions in the region to this day.
And see, I totally disagree with that, though. That's the thing.
No, I know you do. I know you. Are you have a different view on?
Are you just trying to? Are you just trying to troll right now? Is this your troll? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
I mean, I think American imperialism is a problem.
But you don't think Chinese imperialism is?
Sure, I didn't say it wasn't, but I think the
But that's the
difference
thing.
between
But that's my
the difference
point.
between the relationship between American intervening in Taiwan and China intervening in Taiwan are two very different things.
What is China intervening in? That's the thing.
Nothing right now, really. I mean, it's the status quo that's been in place since the 70s.
But they're not going for the status quo. That's the thing.
No, every single article that you read today about Taiwan was about the changing dynamic in favor of Taiwanese independence.
No, I was reading.
giving-
Did you count whenever I was reading the Global Times?
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
Like whenever I was reading, because that's why I was reading the Global Times, because I'm getting like what the Chinese are actually thinking and what their mouthpieces are putting out, because it's not like I can just like pull up, oh, the Chinese government says this. It's not like in the United States where we basically can just like, oh, the United States government, this is what they think on it. Chinese government basically just like tells the Global Times, here, go ahead and say this, and then they make an article about it. So
yeah, and like the one article I can recall off the top of my head is the giving of Chinese Taipei a voting position on the WHA.
yeah,
That's changing the relationship because it did not have that before. It was just an observer in the WHO as Chinese Taipei, not a voting member. So it's another step towards recognizing that this is a sovereign state, which is changing the dynamic. That's a reaction on the part of China. It's not like China initiated the process. And then, I mean, I don't want to take any position. I'm just trying to argue on the fact that I don't think America should be intervening. So
okay,
don't
so
take like what I'm saying is total opposition to the independence of Taiwan, because I'm not entirely opposed to it. But
that's the,
I don't think. Go ahead.
okay, no, go ahead.
I don't think that the United States has any role in deciding the outcome of that.
So who does have the deciding role?
The Republic of China and the People's Republic of China.
And you know exactly how that would end, correct?
No.
How?
China has not really heavily or directly intervened in Taiwanese affairs since the 70s.
They're intervening.
Now, they've given
in it.
strongly worded statements, but they've
Wait.
never directly intervened in the process.
They did directly intervene in Taiwanese affairs after 1970. The Third Taiwanese Strait Crisis was an intervention in Taiwanese affairs.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with what happened then?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so
Please, go ahead and describe it.
So the Third Taiwanese Strait Crisis was an incident in 1995, 1996, and it lasted about 8 months. It was an effect of a series. It was the effect of a series of missile tests conducted by the People's Republic of China in the waters surrounding Taiwan, including the Taiwanese Strait. First set of missile tests were allegedly intended to send a strong signal to the Republic of China government after Li Tenghui, who had been seen as moving with his foreign policy away from the One China policy. The second set of missile tests were fired in early 1996, allegedly intending to intimidate the Taiwanese electorate in the run-up to the 1996 election.
Okay, so reading this, I don't see this as a direct intervention. This is an indirect intervention. This is an indirect intervention, definitely. It's trying to be imposing. It's no different than the statements that that you read.
It's
It's trying
election
to impose.
interference.
It's shooting of missiles into territorial waters that China claims as its own,
Yes.
and regularly enforces. It's not uncommon. Uh, again, it's not a direct intervention, as in like China directly interfering with the operation of the government of the Republic of China.
Let me
It's trying to influence the actions of that government, which didn't seem to be all that effective in anyways. And it wasn't effective, and they didn't escalate it further. I don't see where the threat of letting them settle this dispute on their own. It's not the place of the United States to intervene. It isn't.
Okay, so I pulled something up on stream. If you actually look, these are where the military exercises were being held. So it was like right, it wasn't in their own some like two of them were in their own territorial waters, but they were off like, not that far off from the coast of Taiwan.
Yes, in waters that they claim is their own. Like I've said, China regularly enforces territorial waters that aren't always internationally recognized. And again, this isn't shooting missiles into water is not a direct intervention. It isn't.
So
It's
you
trying to
don't
influence the actions of a government. It's not a direct intervention. Something like the Cuba Missile Crisis is a direct intervention because they're directly interfering. But
so you're
shooting
saying that
missiles into water,
because there were no boots on the ground that's not a direct intervention.
or they didn't directly influence the operation or the ability of the Republic of China to operate. It didn't. That didn't happen.
Do you
and
feel like the United
obviously their
States
attempts to influence were extremely ineffective because the policy continued, and the United States supported the Republic of China. I mean, it didn't change anything.
You do realize that the reason that they have these straight crises, it's to test the reaction from the United States and from Taiwan. Because the reason that they're doing it is because they want to see, if we poke the bear, will the bear wake up? And the bear kind of wakes up a little bit. They send a carrier battle group through the Taiwan Strait. But then, they kind of like back off because they're like, okay, so the bear is about to wake up. And that's what the Taiwanese Strait crises do. And I don't understand how you think that it's not an intervention, because do you feel like...
What is the role of the United States in the independence of Taiwan? What do you think is the role of the United States?
To ensure that democracy continues in Taiwan.
Why?
Because
why is that the role of the United States?
Because the United States is inherently the defender of democracies throughout the entire world.
I wouldn't say that's true. Most American interventions are not to preserve democracy of any sort.
It's one of the reasons. I'm not talking about Iraq. I'm not talking about Vietnam, because of course those were times where the United States, kind of stood aback from what they were inherently supposed to be doing. But if a country wants a democracy and another country wants to step in and say, no, you belong to us, we're going to make a claim on your country, and we're going to take your rights away whenever we take you over, then that country deserves a defense. And whenever and the thing is that like this is somewhat out of our hands, because the Taiwanese people love America. They want America to defend them. It's not like we're just going in just because, the United States feels like, or because the United States government is just like trying to like pick a fight with another country. It's because we have been defending this country for 70 years. We have been saying
Mm,
we will defend you if something happens. And if we were to just kind of step away and say, okay, hey, you're on your own, we would be betraying 23 million people. And then Japan would feel like they're alone. South Korea would feel like they're alone. The Philippines, Indonesia, Australia, our Western European ally or our European allies, everyone in Europe would be like, okay, like, do you feel like the United States under Trump was do you feel like it was good that the United States was kind of stepping back from the world stage with the withdrawal from the WHO, with the withdrawal from the TPP? Do you feel like all of that was good? Do you think Trump made good decisions on that part? And do you feel like and in turn, do you feel like that it's good that Biden is finally saying, you know, America is back? What do you think of that?
um, I would say that Trump really didn't do much to withdraw the United States in any major respects, with especially with regards to military intervention. He did bomb Syria. He did bomb Yemen. Like he did do all of those things as president.
Uh
Uh, Withdrawing with the TPP from the TPP, I support that politically. The WHO, honestly, I don't care. Those sorts of organizations, really, they're not a big deal to me, and I don't really. I Biden, one of the first things Biden did when he became president was postpone the withdrawal of American troops, which was already agreed upon from Afghanistan by months, in violation of the agreement that we had with the Taliban. So, I don't really think that's a good thing. I don't think Biden's policy or Trump's policy on foreign policy has been a good thing for anyone. They've both been imperialist presidents, just in different respects. It's the same. They're not that different on foreign policy.
so then do you feel like that the United States should and so I guess I'm kind of like circling back because because I feel like I already know what your answer is going to be. And again, I disagree because it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental disagreement between you and me, and I know that. It's just fun to talk about.
yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I can talk about something all day and I'm never going to have hard feelings. So no hard feelings.
Yeah, I don't think it's the role of the United States to, or be an arbiter of the outcome of conflicts. It's not been really good in the past, and even in our present conflicts, it hasn't been good. I don't think it's a good thing going forward for us, or definitely not the people who are affected directly by those policies.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that with regards to China, and I don't agree that it's expansionist in the respect that you were suggesting. Uh, you know that they're going to get Taiwan and then go for Japan and South Korea.
They already
I,
do.
I, do, I don't. There's some territorial disputes that are remnants of Japanese imperialism. Yes, that's the case. Like I've said before, Taiwan also claims those islands that you said the People's Republic of China claims. It's a dispute that's rooted in the imperialist nature of, or history of Japan. Uh, but China's territorial disputes have largely been restricted to those things. They haven't really been expansionist powers. They actually get along somewhat well with South Korea right now. It's excuse me. I don't think China is an expansionist country.
And I'm not even talking about the Senkaku Islands. I'm talking about the Ryukyu Islands. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about islands that have inherently belonged to Japan for like hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden, China's just kind of like popping up and they're just like, hey, is mine? Is this mine? Yes, it is mine. and they actually had a little bit of a spat with the Russians. And I mean, the Chinese and the Russians are kind of allying with each other, but then it's like that alliance is actually going to collapse pretty quickly if US hegemony kind of collapses, which I mean, it's kind of questionable to even say if the United States has hegemony anymore. So it's something if you're seriously saying like, oh, the United States is imperialist, but then you're kind of saying like, I don't consider China imperialist. You're kind of it's kind of like I don't know what you're reading. I don't know how
You
you
have
don't
to
understand
recognize the
that
different
that's
histories of the two countries, essentially. The territorial disputes.
Are you
You know,
talking about the century
America
of
had
humiliation?
similar territorial disputes with its, you know, former, colonial overlords several decades after its independence in Maine in the 1840s, and they were resolved. The fact that these disputes exist uh, is largely a remnant of, like I said, the imperial nature of that region, and like the effects of Japanese imperialism, American imperialism. It's something that happened, and we're still dealing with the consequences of those actions. American imperialism around the world is not the same. They aren't reacting as like a victim of imperialism emerging from a post-imperial or a neo-imperialist world or neo-colonial world. They aren't. The United States was a colonial power and is today a neo-colonial power.
Mhm.
It's whereas China did not function the same way. It was largely a victim during the colonial period, and until the revolution was a victim of neo-colonialism until '49. So I mean, I I've sorry, I need to drink some water.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
One sec. I'll be right back.
Anyway, guys, what's your guys' thoughts on Corbyn's thoughts? Do you feel like he's correct in his assumption that the Americans shouldn't get involved? Do you feel like that the Americans should get involved? What are your guys' thoughts?
All right. So, like I was saying, there's a difference between territorial disputes, or you know, there's a difference between being a victim of an imperialist power and enacting violence and doing things, and in reaction to that, and being the imperialist actor. There's a different dynamic.
So you are referring to the century of humiliation.
That I sure. I mean, it's China was definitely a victim of colonialism. I don't think many people doubt that. Um, it's something that happened, and there we're living with the actual consequences of those colonial actions in Hong Kong and Macau. Uh, we're living with the consequences of imperial China and American policy defending the Republic of China in Taiwan. We are still living with the outcomes of these actions that were at first imperialist colonial actions.
Yeah.
And sorry, I don't know why my throat's so sore.
You're good.
Moving on forward from the consequences of those sorts of actions, we have to treat it differently than just treating it like regular, or quote unquote regular imperialism, or American imperialism in Vietnam, or Iraq or Afghanistan. They're two very different things. The dynamic is very, very different.
Okay. I mean, I feel like me and you have gotten our points across. I completely didn't realize that That I meant to stop streaming at an hour, and I totally see. This is the dangerous thing about me is just like I just start going on a rant about China, and I go over my time limit by 45 minutes. Um, but
I'll see you.
I do appreciate you coming on though, like because I mean it was a pretty interesting discussion. Like that's the whole point is like I'm not sitting here just kind of like I'll debate, but if we're
Yeah, I'll fully prepare next time and have a lot of zingers prepared.
oh hell yeah, I can't wait for that. All right, I'll
I'll
see you
see you.
later. Anyway, guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the bell notification icon. If you guys are looking forward to Power and Revolution, go ahead and um who won? Who's next? You decide. Oh man. Oh man. I'm glad Corbin is back in chats now. I didn't talk to him for so many years, and now he's back, and he's back with a vengeance. So he's trying to oppose PG imperialism. But anyway, guys, if you guys are looking forward to 2021 edition news, go ahead and subscribe and put that bell notification icon so you don't miss any more news on the 2021 edition. Seb, go ahead and join the Discord if you want to be in the next discussion. I would like to have more people on the stream in the future, and we can have more discussions in the future. So again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.